Elon Musk warned Tuesday that the Biden administration's secret flights to bring 320,000 migrants to the U.S. is, quote, laying the groundwork for something far worse than 9/11. In a post on X, he added that, quote, it's just a matter of time that another terrorist attack of that magnitude happens on U.S. soil. He claims the Biden administration is importing voters and doubled down on the stance in a subsequent tweet where he talked about voter ID requirements or lack thereof. Voter identification has been under scrutiny in the walk-up to Election Day, with Republicans urging for election reform, but Democrats saying that it is unconstitutional to implement photo ID requirements. 36 states require some form of voter identification, while 14 states, including New York and California, require no form of documentation at the polls. In the past 12 months, at least 320,000 migrants have been flown into 43 undisclosed American airports. The flights are reportedly part of President Biden's controversial Customs and Border Patrol app. Also known as CBP-1, the app allows illegal migrants to apply for parole before heading to the U.S. Where migrants are being flown in from has been kept confidential, as the CBP claims revealing the location could have grave consequences. Elon Musk has been outspoken against Biden's lax border policies, especially since he visited Eagle Pass, Texas in September of last year. During his visit, he said he witnessed some extreme individuals crossing into the U.S., including men with teardrops tattooed on their face, indicating that they have committed murder. After a Brooklyn high school closed for the day to accommodate migrants during a rainstorm, Musk also warned that migrants will come for your homes next.
And we're back. And today we're joined by special guest, Mike Glover. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
We're here in the middle of nowhere, Central Florida, filming Surviving Man Season 3. I understand you and Don are torturing the contestants.
More Don. He's a stud. Former Dev Group guy. He's an animal. Yeah, he's really good. Squared away. I love him.
I heard through the grapevine Mike's not exactly innocent in all of this. But
maybe a little bit.
So I asked Mike to come on Survival Dispatch News to discuss the atrocious condition of our southern border and all the crap that's coming across, whether it be drugs, gangs, all these things. Mike, give me your impression of what's the state of the border and what do you think we need to do, can do, and what's your advice for our audience?
Yeah, well, number one, thanks for having me. I've always followed Survival Dispatch and what you guys do, and you guys do an amazing work. It's so important, especially now. Look, guys, I mean, you see all the information out there, and the feeling that you get is a real feeling. And so what I would say is a lot of people want to point and say, this is fear-mongering, this isn't real, nothing will ever happen. And we've been down that road before. But we also know a lot of you, especially that follow Survival Dispatch, Fieldcraft Survival, just pay attention. I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just trying to give you advice. When you look at the numbers of 33,000 Chinese illegal immigrants crossing the border, mainly, and I don't even know any other statistic other than almost all of them are middle-aged males, fighting-age males. The thing that I look at is who is bringing these guys here, and then what's their task and purpose? A better life? Maybe. But there are a lot of Chinese who have a good life. Well, what would be their task and purpose specifically if it was the CCP sending them? Well, it's technically, I would just put myself in those shoes, I would be sending as many hackers as possible to infiltrate networks, disrupt and sabotage and subvert existing infrastructure. They already do it full time, like every single day. Mm-hmm. In fact, Instagram and Facebook went down today.
Exactly.
Went down today. And, it's just a software update. No, it's not. They pay billions, if not trillions of dollars in infrastructure security management to tackle these problems. What you're seeing likely is a multifaceted, comprehensive plan to overthrow, one phase at a time, from foundation all the way up to the surface, everything that we stand for, because they hate it. And so when you have adversaries like Russia, because of bad foreign policy, we disaffected all of the partnership and relationships that we've had with other countries. So why would they not join forces, partner together, and force multiply? China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, the list goes on. I feel like we're facing a huge problem that we're going to see unfold over the next year to a couple years.
So refresh my memory. I think it was you that said a couple days ago that a good portion of the middle-aged, younger Chinese men coming here, highly likely special ops trained in communications, set up close to our bases and other infrastructure, you know, maybe those choke points in our grid that are really important. Am I remembering that correctly, or was that somebody else?
No, I've said it a lot. I mean, look, if you have foreign adversaries sending illegal immigrants to infiltrate this country, yeah, sure, the idea of like they're sleeper cells, we activate them when we activate them. Most people who are coming from overseas that are fighting age males anyways are coming from countries where they're required by the laws of those nations to serve in some capacity. So if you're seeing them, they've already been trained.
Gotcha.
I mean, we just had a recent case of a young man, a tactical kid, who came here to get training, and turns out he was a recruiter or a recruitment poster child for their special operations forces.
Wow.
And pictures and videos surfaced of him training with Americans in the United States, but also on recruitment posters for special operations in China. Now, that to me, on a small scale, is not a significant threat. But the way the Chinese do all the things they do, I would expect there to be a larger significant threat.
It's coordinated.
It's coordinated.
Yeah.
It's deliberate.
Yeah, so we've got an episode of Truth Be Told with Todd Callender being published 2 days from now on Friday. And I mentioned during that video that we had some reports out of LA County that there are at least 3 supposedly former cartel members that are now part of the LAPD. And the only reason, you know, that we could come up with that may be true, and this is from people inside law enforcement in California that told us this, is that they want to penetrate our networks, number one, like get inside intel, as well as the fact whatever they learn, they can potentially teach to the rest of the cartel, whether it be Mexico or otherwise. It's a crazy situation. So what do you make of this news that just came out that Biden, or the Biden admin, snuck 320,000, whatever you want to call them, migrants, invaders, whatever, last year, and it's just coming to light now by circumventing regular channels at the border and CBP and USCIS and whatnot?
I'm not surprised. I mean, at this point, nothing surprises me because we've seen it all. But again, this is like, when you look at this is direct subversion of our Constitution and our national sovereignty. I mean, when you're flying illegal immigrants and you're not announcing those things, it was never congressionally approved, which obviously you're a constituent for the congressional representative of your district, you should have skin in the game. When that's not even advertised, and your taxpayer dollars are facilitating airplane rides with no recourse, no regulation, and complete breaking down the fabric of what we stand for, law and order, that's a problem. And so I know why they're doing it. They want to get the votes. They're surging the votes. That's why they're creating these pushes congressionally for legislation to lead to, whether it's a worker's permit, which I get, like if you want to have them work, but we should just follow the letter of the law from the get-go. So we shouldn't even have that conversation because we should be following the letter of the law. And so I'm not surprised. I am surprised at the number.
Yes,
320,000, and me and you paid for that. Me and you paid for that.
Right.
The taxpayers paid for that. You should be outraged. One of the problems we have is, like, we talk about this and we go in circles, but what are you doing at the local level? And I would just advocate that more and more you should get involved in local politics, but also understand the representative in your backyard so you could send them letters, send them emails, and campaign. Use your social media platform for good to campaign and blow those guys up. Not literally.
Thank you for.
Yeah, I was going to clarify. Let's clarify that.
As a veteran of this stuff, you know exactly what's coming. Right? There. The people who can't differentiate between sarcasm and not, out come the knives.
That would be the clip.
Mike Glover said.
That would be the clip they use. But we need to advocate and get behind these things because you should be outraged. I'm outraged. I post about it, but I also, behind the scenes, tell all my subgroups, American Contingency, hey, we need to activate. We need to send emails. And man, that sucks that we have to say that, but we're at that level right now. We're in that phase. So that's the way you get things changed right now.
So, I mean, they're essentially circumventing the law, and Todd Callender's fond of saying there's no rule of law without law enforcement. So we're not vetting these people, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that in a second. But not only are we not vetting them, and not only do we have this 320,000 that was just revealed, apparently it's been ongoing since then, so the number is going to be even larger. But we've seen pictures of boarding passes that say no name given. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I mean, you've worked in multiple capacities, special forces, CIA operative, all that sort of stuff. How do you vet these people if there's no...
You can't.
There's no process.
I mean, what they'll lean on is when they bring them into the country, they'll basically do a scan, and they'll put them through a system. They'll do a retina scan, biometrics, etc. But the people that are coming here are not going to populate. I mean, in 1 month last year in September, 30 Iranian illegals came over, 2 of which were on the terrorist watch list. When I went down with Sheriff Mark Lamb and we were surveying the border, and he was showing me the issues that were going on in Pinal County, which is displaced from the border, but they get the after effects. Mm-hmm. We have American citizens who are smuggling these people. In fact, we caught 2 of them.
Wow.
The video's on my channel, Mike Glover Actual, on YouTube. We caught 2 of them in the back of a young lady who flew from California, used all the apps surreptitiously, and was paid, the estimate is $3,000 to $5,000 per immigrant for quick work, a couple hours of work. And she wasn't fazed because she knew as soon as she got in, just like the migrants that were there, they would be released. And so that's the problem. We're catch and release, we're not following the letter of any law, and then the Department of Homeland Security and legislators are saying that's okay, that's fine. And don't believe that there's no executive orders that Biden can put into place to stop this, because he could just say, we're not accepting anymore, stop, and he could turn them away. But he refuses to do that because he also is thinking about the election, and I imagine something's going to happen where they're going to try to shift the letter of the law to make it so illegals can vote. And in a lot of places throughout the country, they do, and they can. Mm-hmm. I mean, because there's a lot of crooked things going on in the electoral process where they are voting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the voter ID laws, everybody on, say, the Democrat side rails against it as being racist, because that one check and balance there would negate a lot of that illegal voting, or, you know, non-citizens voting in our elections. But I just read that there are 260-ish NGOs operating at Darien Gap to facilitate up to here, right? And then when they cross the border, they get their prepaid cards. Mark Lamb broke that story. Do you remember this in January?
Very significant, yeah.
And he got raked over the coals by the mainstream media and everybody else that he was fear-mongering.
Right-wing extremist.
Yeah, extremist and everything. And now you've got people like Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, saying, well, we have this $60 million in this fund over here, and we're going to move it over to here so that we can give them a prepaid visa with $5,000 to $10,000 on it. It boggles the mind, Mike. I mean, we don't have any idea what we've imported into the country, and I don't know how you defend against that. Like you said, we have all these adversaries who want bad things to happen to us. So in my mind, when I put this together, I'm thinking, okay, we have Chinese hackers with assistance from other countries start taking down our infrastructure. So whether that be cell phone networks, internet, power grid, and whatnot. And then you have these other bad actors who realize that the supply chain now is completely done, because everything is done over the internet now for supply chain management. Mm-hmm. There's no communications. Wow, what a great time it would be to break out some, bombs and do terrorist things, right?
Yeah, and they also know, look, you don't need a lot. I mean, we sleep on the fact that 19 hijackers from Saudi Arabia with box cutters killed 3,000 Americans and changed the course of our history as we know it. Initiated the global war on terror, really a crapshoot, and destroyed the sovereignty and freedoms for Americans, and they did it with box cutters. So what were they doing right? They had the ideology, they had the motivation, they were incentivized, and they followed through. Now, when you take that and you look at the potential, let's say just most probable course of action, I think most probable course of action is going to be small-scale attacks whose purpose is not to create casualties, but whose purpose is to create chaos. Because that gives the government, and they know it, the opportunity to wrangle and control more and more and more, displacing freedom, which they know is the divisive line between freedom-loving Americans and a tyrannical government. And so if they just turn that into their favor, and then you have a organization like the TSA, patting you down every time you go through the airport and you feel violated, and then you accept that. Nothing against TSA agents because they're just doing their job, but we gave them that freedom, enough rope to hang themselves, and look where we're at today. And there wasn't any bombs. There wasn't any bullets. It was box cutters. I mean, I just got my knife. Unfortunately, it was a Montana knife, which is a really good knife, taken out of my suitcase because I had it in one of my jeans, and that's what we're focused on. So now imagine sporadic attacks, a handful of them throughout the country, and we react because we think there's going to be an impending attack. Those legislators will jump on the ball and be like, we have to regulate, we have to restrict, just like they did with the mandates for C-19. So it's not too far away.
Kill one, terrorize 1,000, essentially.
Oh, exactly right. Exactly right.
And then I'm pretty fond of saying every decision we make in life, first thing we have to do is decide what we want. Next thing we have to do is decide what we're willing to give up to get it. In all of our decisions, right?
Yeah.
So essentially the argument from the left all along, and don't get me wrong, the Republicans, in my opinion, are just a different side of the same coin, but they present this along the lines of, if we put this one rule in place, yes, we're taking away your civil liberties, but if it saves one life, and it saves one Darwin candidate sort of thing, right? But it's death by 1,000 cuts, right? And next thing you know, all of your civil liberties are gone. And what I find most offensive of that is the three words, we the people. Somehow we've taken Americans' perception, Civics 101 basically, that the Constitution somehow grants us rights, and it doesn't do any such thing whatsoever, right? It tells the government, these are the guidelines that we will allow you to operate in, and these are the things that you can and cannot do. It doesn't say you and I have the right to bear arms, for example.
Yeah.
It says the government doesn't have the right to take them away.
Yeah.
But people's perception of that's completely flip-flop these days.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how you fight back against that, how we correct that. And again, with this political process, we know no ifs, ands, or buts now that the 2020 election was 100% stolen.
Yeah.
And many of us have known that for quite some time because it was that obvious, right? And we know that they're going to try that stuff again. So if they can't do it the same way they did last time with mail-in voting, they can do it with all these immigrants they brought in, just like you mentioned. Nobody's checking their ID.
Yeah.
They don't show up in the system. That's okay. Fill out this special form over here and you can go ahead and vote. And the whole thing is skewed. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on here for a second, but I don't think we've had a legitimate election at the federal level since Woodrow Wilson, other than 2016. And even in 2016, you'll recall right to the 11th hour, Hillary saying, I'm not worried. We've got this. It's in the bag. They cheated. They just didn't cheat enough to offset the tsunami of people who came voting for Donald Trump. And then they went overboard in 2020. And kind of made it super obvious. So taking all this into consideration, Mike, I mean, you are a preeminent subject matter expert in the field of survival. It's a good pun, huh?
I like it.
In the field of survival. I just made that up. Feel free, you can take that and steal it. What do you tell the people who come to Fieldcraft Survival for training? What do you tell your followers on social media? Like, what are the things that people need to do right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, look, there's so many things outside of your control, and you could watch the news, especially if you watch corporate media, and spin yourself into chaos and not do anything. It's the analysis and paralysis. It's like you'll paralyze yourself and you'll live in fear, or you could just be prepared. And when you focus on those things, like, I don't know, the family unit, which is a great thing to focus on, maybe you and your spouse, you don't even have to have kids, you're building something foundationally that is resilient. And the world can burn around you. As long as you have your family intact and they are prepared, then you're squared away. Because the idea, the concept in this We the People experiment is that if everybody's living the same way, and because they're trying to push government out and they don't want to be controlled, and they've been giving the lateral limits of law and order, that they're living their best free life. And those relationships build community. And that's so important. So focus on yourself first and foremost. It's like that oxygen mask dropping down. Like, service yourself, take care of yourself. And most people who think about preparedness think it's the EDC. And I hate to break it to you guys because I know it's cool, it's wrapped in black multicam and it's sexy, but it's not just that. In fact, it's less that than family preparedness. It's less that than thinking about sustaining yourself in self-reliance for the long haul. It's less that than thinking about your mental health and physical health. So if we focus on ourselves, if we focus on our families, honestly, man, I don't usually say this, but like the reason I don't is because I don't want to push my God onto your God, but you need God in your life. When you get more focused on removing yourself from being selfish and potentially not doing anything about it, you start to build yourself up, build your family up, and build your community up. And that's what we need more of. So, in fact, I would offer that this entire lifestyle of preparedness, whether it's through you guys or the culmination of all the subject matter experts and gaining information, because I'm certainly not the end-all, be-all solution. I'm not. I'm just a conduit for experts who, like you, to message to other people to communicate, hey, these are things that we have to do in best practice. When you start to build that, it makes you better. And I just hope it makes me happier, it makes me more fulfilled because I'm in control. And I don't need to outsource everything else to the government. You've done it in healthcare, education, security. How about you start thinking in a lifestyle where you insource things back into your life? Where does your food come from? Taking care of yourself in health and wellness. I don't know, thinking about your own security and your own first response. That's what I would say to my Fieldcraft tribe and also you guys. I hope you guys get interested in this field of expertise. And again, look, I sell first aid kits. I sell weekend training courses. It's not a sales pitch because if you do it with anybody, just do it. Just do it with somebody.
Yeah, no knowledge is bad knowledge at the end of the day, number one. Number two, as far as survival dispatch is concerned, our job, Mike, is just to dispatch information. That's it. And,
I love it.
And then people can do what they choose to do with that information.
I love it.
So we have people on our team who are subject matter experts. You've met Mike Sterling.
Awesome.
23-year EOD tech. He knows everything about everything when it comes to blowing stuff up.
Yeah, he does.
And he knows a tremendous amount in the counterterrorism field. It's not my background. My background's in high tech.
Yeah.
So I'm the conduit. You're less of a conduit than I am because you've got a tremendous amount of hands-on experience that I don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
But if I can provide the conduit through the platform Survival Dispatch for people like you and Mike Sterling and the rest of our guys to deliver that information, we're back to no knowledge is bad knowledge.
Yeah.
And I really like the holistic overview you did, right? Because most of the time when I ask that question, and I'm not saying that the answers are wrong, but it's very down to individual tactical things. Okay, go buy this gun, go take this training, learn how to plant vegetables, all those sort of things, whereas the tactic that you took is much higher level. I would add to what you said is that we know the end, right? We know that God wins in the end.
Yeah.
So if we know that God wins in the end, then it kind of gives you that sense of peace that, as long as you do your part and you do the best that you can, in the end, the good guys win.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I love that.
That's where the serenity and peace of mind comes out of it all instead of this information overload. Like
Yeah.
I can tell you at one point in time when I was working with Sun, I was representing two different business units. They gave me a palm tree and they gave me a blackberry. And I've been a techie since, a kid. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And 3 weeks later, I was like, oh my God, I can't get away from this. And we're going back 25 years ago. I was thinking, holy crap, I'm trapped by this stuff. You can ask my wife.
Yeah.
My phone is on Do Not Disturb 24/7.
Awesome.
Every notification is turned off.
Yeah.
I take people like my wife and you, and I add you to my favorites list so that when you reach out, it comes through my phone. But the rest of the time, I don't care what I miss.
Yeah.
Because you can't be beholden to it.
You
drives you
can't.
crazy.
You can't.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, I don't know if Bob's okay with this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Surviving Man All-Stars is going to be at Fieldcraft Survival in Utah. That's kind of like the next leg of this journey for Surviving Man.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to participate in that.
It's fun.
really appreciate your hospitality. Really appreciate you coming down here.
Yo, thank you so much for having me.
It's fantastic. Well, it's not me.
Yeah.
I just spoke to your right-hand man, Rob Parsons. I said, hey, Rob, any chance you could make this happen? Mike Glover.
He's good at that. But we'll do anything for you guys.
I love it. All right. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Mike.
brother. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Stay frosty.
I care about people. And when I worked on this border last year, I saw a lot of things that happened, and I was looking for what I call a needle in a stack of needles.
When an enemy nation assumes substantial government functions, they've won the war.
Look at this. This is a 6-month-old baby that was raped. 6-month-old raped.
But the reality of it is that every state is a border state right now.
If you recover 100 pills, 100 fentanyl pills, 66 of those are going to cause a fatal overdose.
We've even heard stories of gang members actually getting hired as law enforcement.
This is Truth Be Told. Truth Be Told, hosted as always by attorney Todd Callender.